Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought on another fantastic guest group of guests, all indie publishers, writers, artists, all sorts of stuff. These guys are all fantastic. So, without further ado, I'm just going to bring everybody on because, there's just too much goodness here. Too much goodness. So, first, my co-host, Mark.
Oh, I thought you were going to throw my name out.
Listen, man, you got a mouth? Share it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Indie Comics Explained with our main man, JD Calderon. I am the co-host, Mark Torres, from It Came From Radio, the official show of the Big Apple Con. Welcome all, and we have our tons and tons of guests waiting in the wings. So let's get right to it.
There we go. Mr. Arthur, how are you? Please.
We have Arthur, that indie comics guy.
Yes, it is I, the one and only Arthur Bellfield, aka the Indie Comics guy. Fresh off my ban from this station, but I'm back for week 2, so I'm doing something right. And I just came here to hang out with y'all, drink some beer, drink some coffee, and just talk comics.
Nice. We're not going to mention the incense.
Oh, I put it in a can.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. At least you smell. There you go. Anything for good vibes.
Anything for good vibes. I got crystals. I got all this right here.
Nice.
Awesome.
I thought about doing a comic book tarot card reading, but I'm gonna hold off on that.
All right, next time.
Next time we have the Dreamer.
What up, everybody? It's Jorge Medina. Thank you for having me on. I had to come on this week to clear my name. I've heard rumors that I didn't like JD. JD didn't like me, so here I am to clear that up.
East Coast, West Coast Hispanic battle.
Not only do I like JD, I love JD. That's my boy right there. I've known him for many, many years. I hope you feel the same, JD. Say you do, bro. Say it.
Is your mouth? No. Oh yeah. Yes.
But yeah, that's who I am.
Come on.
Yes, of course.
We have San Diego war stories.
Oh, dude, the best.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. So hold on. We got somebody else here.
Oh.
Hello, everyone. And just so you know, the rumors are also true about me and JD. I love him way too much. So if anybody saw last week's show, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Brian.
I'm Brian. That's right. The infamous Brian that hovers over a sleeping JD. Yes. I'm Brian Rodman. I make comics. I have a website. It's called brianrodman.com. And right now, actually tomorrow, we are about to launch another entry of our new webcomic series on Patreon called The Princess Warriors. My nieces and I are teaming up. And this is we're launching a page or two every couple weeks over on Patreon. Go check it out. All levels get the entry. So you can pay bare minimum and see the story. Other than that, I am on the Desk of the Dingoes podcast and Comic Book Spectrum, both on the Rising Tide Network every Tuesday and Thursday nights.
Well, let me just mention this, Brian. It is awesome that you have the website called brianrodman.com. That was well thought out. Nicely done.
Thank you. I spent many days trying to figure out what to call it. And it just came to me in a dream. So I figured that was probably a good idea.
Nice. Right. And without further ado, Mr. Randy. How you doing, Randy?
I'm doing all right. I want to tell Brian I have the aardvark minimum instead of the bare minimum. I got that. And Arthur, there's no way you can do an accurate tarot read for the comic industry because the tarot deck only has one fool card.
He ain't wrong.
How's everybody doing? I'm back from the dead. In like 4 months or so. Yeah. I got stories. I got
Zombie
stories.
Randy's back from the dead.
Yeah, welcome to 2022. There's a war going on. You missed a lot.
Yeah,
I didn't miss the war. I didn't miss the war. I was awake before 2 days before Thanksgiving, but I'm still learning how to walk, so it's all good.
Wow.
Oh man!
On the mend.
I got to me. Well, believe it or not, I'm way ahead of where they thought I would be with therapy. Every time the therapist now comes to my house. Every time I walk up to the door, they go, "Damn, You're a lot farther along than you were last week, and I'm like, yep, I got work to do.
That's all.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you got a pretty sweet cane now too, right?
I do. I got an awesome cane right there with a lion head on it.
Damn.
Heck
nice.
yes,
It
man.
is incredible.
Nice.
I love it. I'm going to keep it even after I can walk straight,
As you should.
just because it looks cool. Yeah.
Well, we here at Indie Comics Explained want to give you an
Looks-
extra
looks
special
like a-
welcome. Thank you for being with us, Randy.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I enjoy being seen now.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the cane looks like an excellent skull cracker. So yeah.
Well, I was
You
going to
never know what I
mention
can
that,
do.
but there's no sense in trying to raise people's suspicions, for my convention appearances. It's not the. Don't do that.
Nice.
Just walk
I
up
was gonna
behind
put this
somebody
up.
and whack. Oh, I'm sorry. I lost my balance for a second.
He says from Joe. He says, "What? Wait, artist here." He says, "Hell is frozen over." We're doing another live stream.
Yes. He knows I hate live streams. He's like, you always gotta go edit your comments.
I don't know why.
Then you're on the perfect place because you hate live streams. This is the best place ever.
This is my second time doing one.
Jesus, I don't know if this.
That's why you're burning incense. That's all.
Yeah.
Randy is back. The voice of creative reasoning is back. Thanks, Joe. I'm going to use that as a tagline.
Yep.
There it is.
I got to write that down. Give me a second.
Pimp cane.
Voice of
I need a
creative,
pimp cane.
creative
We-
Here
reasoning.
you go, Randy. We all need a
Hail-
pimp cane.
hail
There you
Danny.
go. All right, guys. Let's get this. Let's get this started. And this, I'm gonna ask this question, and I attribute this all to Arthur. He did an excellent video on this the other day. So it inspired me to ask this question, everybody. So, we all do comics. We all do comics. Period. So, if your book is trash, who does the blame? The writer, the artist, or the editor? Right? Yeah. So brought to you from Arthur. Thank you, Arthur. Let's start with
That's
Mr.
right.
The Dreamer, Medina.
So if your book is trash, who's to blame? The artist, the writer, or the editor? Wow. I think, all of the above, right? Like, I think that everybody's got a part to play. And if the writing is trash, right? And then the artist just adds to the trash, and then the editor doesn't catch the fact that all of that is trash. He's trash. So I just think it's everybody shares the blame in that sense, man. Like, that's what I think.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Mr. Rodman, are you there?
Oh yes, I am. I am here. If your story's trash, it's your story, right? So I feel like the person to blame would be you. I know, like, if I produced a trash story, hopefully when I sent it to the editors, someone would tell me it was a trash story before it got printed. But really, if it starts with you, and then if everybody else on the team thinks it's great when it's trash, maybe we all just need to figure out what else we need to do for a living. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think that, first of all, the person in charge is whose story it is and who's the captain of the ship. Yeah, that's the person to blame. And then of course, I think everybody else in the team, if nobody speaks up, they share the blame as well. A group effort for a trash work.
Right.
It is definitely a group effort. Yes. Randy, what do you got? Or what
Well,
do you
in my
think?
opinion, if it's a group effort, you're probably not doing an independent comic book. But that's just me. But who's to blame? Everybody's to blame. If it's your book, you're to blame. Guess what? You did a trashy book. Don't do it again.
Yep.
Well, either that or please learn from it. Get some good critique and understand that not everybody's out there to, shove a boot up your rear end. We give you critiques in order to try to make you get better. So that's the key to a trashy book, is just make the next one better, you know? But yeah, I've seen, usually if you're a cog in a machine, you're working for a company, then it's a group effort. Heck yeah. I've seen some pretty trashy books that big longtime editors should have caught simple elementary school type comic book 101 mistakes in, you know, and it happens, especially with a group effort, that something will slip through. But for the most part, it starts at the top of the chain and works its way down. But that's part of why I like doing independent comics, is if I do it all myself, I know who's to blame.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, me, I do it all myself. So if I make a trash book, I carry that weight. So
well, I got books out there that I look at now and cringe. Everybody does.
Oh yeah,
it's not sure. Everybody does. But that's all part of being an artist, is knowing that your stuff sucks at certain points in time.
Or it's just always knowing that your stuff sucks currently.
Well, no, that's a lack of self-esteem.
I've found that to be my experience. Like, this sucks. Move on to the next page.
You can't survive very long in this business and have a low level of self-esteem.
For sure. Yeah.
Because you have to have that tough skin.
Yeah, I found I'm either saying, man, this is terrible, or I'm a genius. Either way. It's one or the other.
Yeah, that's where you have to check yourself, is when you read a book from like 20 years ago that you wrote, you go, oh, that's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Who the fuck wrote this? Oh, yeah. I wrote it. Okay. Yeah.
This is true. Cool. Arthur, what do you got, man?
Me?
I mean, I saw you. Yeah, what do you got? Your question.
He's got an angry Thanos Funko bobblehead that I'm jealous that he has. Damn. That's got to be like the ultimate in marketing right there. Somebody at Funko going, you know what else we need to sell? Bobbleheads.
Bobbleheads.
Yes.
No,
awesome.
This question came about because I was talking about Kickstarters and Indiegogo campaigns with someone. We were talking about like the books that we actually get, the ones after 3-4 years they actually come in the mail.
Excuse me.
We were talking about the quality of the books, where you're paying a premium price. You're paying $10 to $20 for a 24 page book. When you get it, you're paying this premium price, and you're just kind of like, eh. And then meanwhile, if you saw that book in the store, chances are you never would have picked it up. And I get the whole nature of indie comics is, there's an amateur level, and people don't like that word, but there are levels to this shit. Where some things are at an amateur level, some things need work, some things are very professional all across the board. Now, I talk to a lot of prose writers, and what they don't have that comic book writers have is an artist. So you can have a trash, I'll just say trash since we use that word, a trash writer who has that cheat code, which is a very skilled artist that knows how to storyboard, knows how to fill in the blanks where you wrote Batman crouched down looking over Gotham City. Some artists would just draw that thing. Meanwhile, you get this amazing artist who will fill that scene with rain, with fucking rats and crows and hobos and shit like that. That's the fucking cheat code that some comic book artists have. Writers have, if you have a very skilled artist who can make up for what you lack. Now, when it comes to that dialogue, they can't help you there, buddy. But so you can still have great art, great storytelling thanks to the artist, but when people sit down and read it, what the writer actually did will come through in the friggin' dialogue, and they're like, yo, this is trash. Great art, great pacing, great everything else, but this dialogue has to go. Rewrite it and re-release it.
It's funny because I wish I would have heard that before I gave my answer, because I think for me the question then also, and to Art's point, is, so what's trash about it? Is it the writing? Is it the artwork? What's trash about it? Because then it'll depend, right? If it's just trashy dialogue, then obviously that's the fault of the freaking writer. I can't fault the artist for trashy, for a trash script, as far as dialogue goes. Now, if it's trash art, I can't fault the writer for trash art because he didn't draw it. You know what I'm saying?
But
who I can put the blame on is the editor, though, because he should have caught all that shit. So it really depends. You know what I mean?
Two things to your point. One, we can still blame the writer, and this is how I know a new writer. They will try to fit 8, 9, 10 panels on one page, which is a huge no-no. Only a very select few artists can pull that off without sacrificing story.
I hear you.
Now, in regards to editors, I wish comic book writers would hire professional editors. They're hiring all these stay-at-home moms and dads with no publishing experience. Just because you edited your homeboy's book doesn't mean you're a fucking editor. Can I cuss on here? I'm sorry.
Now you ask? That was like 30 curses too late.
What the
I'm
fuck
trying to be good.
But hey, man, props for asking, though, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Yes, that was very, very courteous to ask. 30 minutes too late.
You swear around here. I'm pretty sure.
Exactly. All right, stop fucking around and just answer the question.
All right. But to your point on the art, I was more talking about perspective, you know, anatomy, shit like that. That's what I was talking about. Not how many panels, because you're right. That's also up to like you said, the rest of the people involved.
And yet, on the other hand, I have seen writers and artists be spot on, and the entire production be destroyed by a bad letterer.
Oh, good
Oh
point.
yeah.
Good point.
Because that letterer is really the maestro of the book. They're conducting the voice in your head.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to follow that left to right, up to down, unless you're doing manga, which is right to left, up to down. But, and a bad letterer can totally trash a book.
Even colorist, even a bad colorist.
And a bad colorist can trash a book as well. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
And trash good art. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Seen that happen way too often too.
Way too many times.
So it's like Arthur said, there's levels to this shit. It's just even the answer to that question has levels to it.
Amen.
That's right.
And people think I'm like hard on people, but I'm harder on myself. I actually did a whole video trashing one of my books. I think somebody mentioned like your book you did 20 years ago. I reviewed my own book and I was like, what was this trash that I wrote? I did the Chris Claremont, everything with these long, epic paragraphs of thought and stuff like that. And I forgot. You got to show, not just tell everything in dialogue.
But did all the girls say yum when they were looking at a guy?
Never in comic books.
Always in Claremont.
Nice. Joe says, "Don't worry, Arthur will get edited in post." Not.
Yeah.
It says, "Arthur, is it fucking cool to fucking cuss here?"
This is my co-host that's on my show. On my show, the more I have my co-host on, the show gets wild.
Marvin says, "Yo, what's up, Marvin?"
Hey, Marvin.
Yo.
Marvin.
All right. So
been?
Mark.
Yes.
So how do you feel about it?
All right. So there's so many things that I've been picking up through all the answers. I have 3 things I have to mention, and they're all jumbled in here. So apologies if they all get crossed over somehow. So first off, the independent Kickstarter and creators, they're being supported by people who are supporting the person, not the product. I find 9 times out of 10. So the book is trash because they're not looking for the book. They're looking to support the person behind the book. Number 2 is I believe that the editor has the ultimate responsibility to make something good or not good, because that's their job. And if they don't do their job right, a whole bunch of other stuff can filter through. That's supposed to be the last stand of making a quality book. And also you have to think, was it trash on purpose? Because sometimes people do that. I want to make it trash on purpose for whatever reason. So if you get a book that's trash on purpose, then good job, nicely done, keep it moving. And final point is that I'm going to go to good old George Lucas for Star Wars. The original Star Wars, there's a lengthy YouTube video online talking about how that movie was saved by the editing. It explains it has a lot of things that they was cut out and moved around, and they said that movie was terrible if not for the editing. And if you remember back then, he wasn't George Lucas. He was just some dude making a movie. Fast forward to when episode 1, 2, and 3 came out, because he was so successful and made all that money, and he wanted to experiment because that's all he wanted to do was just experiment and make movies. He didn't want to be the Star Wars guy. I want to make movies is what he said. And everybody's like, make another Star Wars. Like, oh, man. So he made the Star Wars movies, but because he made so much money, no one was there to tell him no. No one was there to be like, if you change this a little bit, you do that and do this, it'll be a little bit better. Because he's George Lucas, because he had his vision. So the editor, I believe, is the key, the cornerstone to everything.
Plus, hadn't he already divorced his editor by that time?
I believe so. Correct.
I'm pretty sure that's how that went. Yeah,
that is correct. Also,
Well, I can't speak for anybody else, but I know if my stuff sucks, it's my fault. So yeah, that's because I employ a proofreader. I don't employ an editor, right? But I employ someone who proofreads for me. So make sure the I's, commas. I have a long-standing battle with the comma. So me and the comma don't agree. It moves all on its own. I don't understand it. It doesn't understand me. We constantly fight. So my editors, there's always my proofreader is always there to make sure it's in the right spot. Make sure I'm using the words correctly. 2 2s and 2s and theirs and theirs and all that stuff. Because a lot of people don't know the difference between THEIR and THEY''RE. And THEREE. So, a lot of people don't know the difference between those three things. Yeah. And it cracks me up whenever I see professional writers fucking those up on the regular.
Sorry if this is an obnoxious noise, but right on.
Yep.
That really disturbed. And I mean, I'm just reading like some garbage post they're putting up online, and I'm like, you should know these things intrinsic. Like this should be in your DNA at this point. Right. If you're calling yourself a pro writer, you should know the difference between those things and anything else as far as grammar goes. Brian.
Yes.
Nice beard. I like it.
Thank you.
All right. Long live Zimmerman.
Long live the Celestri. Thank you.
There you go.
John, good
I
to see
disagree
you,
with the editor being the blame. If the editor is not hired to be a manager of the project, then it would never be their fault. No, there are different types of editors. Correct.
Right. That's why I was going with that. If the editor is hired to be the editor, to be the person in charge of the project, which that's what an editor should be, not a proofreader, but like a real-time big editor. That's the guy in charge.
Yeah.
And then Daphne writes, Marcia Lucas won the Academy Award for the best film editing 1977 Star Wars.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Marshall.
And Nita
the bell is back.
Nice. All right, Mark, you're up.
All righty. A simple question this time.
Oh, thank God.
I'm still sober, by the
way. George, we told you.
I said that out loud? Shit.
When it comes to creating, where does the passion lie for you guys?
You fucking lied. You lied about this.
That's a simple question.
That's not a simple question.
Where is your passion? Where is your passion?
Yeah. You only think it's a simple question.
Yeah.
Do it for the girls.
All right, now, here's the unfortunate thing for you, George. You answered the first question first. Now it's Brian's turn.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to say it depends on the project. Depends on the story for me. I get I'm passionate, and the passion for different stories comes from different places. I mean, for Memoirs of an Angel, which is my dark fantasy, Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist kind of story. A lot of the passion comes from my faith. I used went to seminary, used a lot of the knowledge I learned there and poured it into this story. And that's where a lot of that passion comes from. But on the other hand, The Nebulizer, which is my post-apocalyptic action comedy about an asthmatic, comes from my struggles with asthma and my humor, and essentially using humor to cope with an illness that sucks. So that's where that passion comes from. So yeah, I'd say it comes from different places. It comes from different things that inspire you, depending on which story you're trying to tell.
Nice. I had to laugh, Brian, because I thought you said it came from my face, and I was just like, nice.
Yeah, it came from JD's face. JD, I have a picture of JD on my wall that I just look at every morning. I walk in, I sit down at my desk, and I say, "Thank you, JD, for looking upon me in love and I blow a kiss at it, and then I get to work, and that's all I need in life.
I was laughing because of Arthur's choice of beverages on the show.
I thought he was showing us his passion, where he gets his creativity. There we go.
That's it. Yeah, listen, we know for many writers that's what it is. So, Randy, what do you got? Where's your passion lie?
Whereas it again, just like what Brian said, it all depends upon the project. Sometimes it's in the creation. Sometimes it's knowing the hook ending. Sometimes it's actually seeing the book done at the printer or holding it in your hands. Sometimes it's having somebody else read it and get it, or understand it the way that you laid it down onto the paper. And that's probably the greatest passion for me. Or if you work and do this as a job, commercial and graphic art wise, the passion's in the check.
Yep.
And getting it to the bank. So there's a lot of different, everybody's got different motivations for passion in what they do. So, and it all depends upon the project.
All right, cool. Arthur, what do you got? I mean, you were already showing us your passion. Go ahead, go.
Wait, what was the question?
What is your passion when it comes to creating your project?
The passion of the Christ? Is that what we're talking about? Oh, passion for creating projects. I'm glad this question was asked because I have very deep philosophical feelings about this passion.
All right, here we go.
No,
and I gotta go next. That's this question just gets worse and worse.
I forgot what. Oh yeah, what is my passion?
Yes, what is your passion when it comes to creating comics? Yes. This is the best show ever.
I fell in love with comics in the early 90s. And it was something about being able to tell a story without a Hollywood budget attached to it, or without having prose where you got to use your fucking imagination and shit and visualize how the characters look. Here you have a writer and an artist. They're merging upon creating something that's unique, that's beautiful. That way, when people see it, they will, see your vision fully. They don't have to wait until Hollywood approves a $20 million, $200,000 million whatever, $200 million budget. They can see the finished result, your proof of concept right there. And it's something to feel proud about when you have people come up to you at conventions and they want to buy your book. They're excited about your project. They're asking you for your autograph. And you're like, me? Little old me? Sure. That's the moments that I love about creating comics is when I see other people who have read my project or flip through it and, kind of skim through it. And they're like, hey, this seems like something that I want to be involved in, even on a reader level. That's where my passion comes from, is to keep seeing people's reaction and keep seeing people love what I'm doing. I don't create comics as some kind of, selfish thing just to feed my ego. I create comics because I generally want people to enjoy the stories that I have written.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
All right, now you're up.
See, everybody
where this question was fucked up.
Everybody think he's drunk, but he's thinking.
No, that's deep.
That's it. That's deep. He got it. It's all in there.
He's got like the drunken master syndrome going on.
All right, George, impress us. Go.
Yeah, and I can't disagree. I think the key to this whole show right now is going to be there's levels to this shit, right? I think it starts with the love, right? You just love to do this shit because as a little kid, you used to watch cartoons, you used to read comic books, and you love them, and now you want to create your own shit, right? So it starts with the love. Then you want to complete this shit because now you're infatuated with it, and you're so passionate about completing this shit that you want to get it done. And then that the accolades hit you when people are like, "Oh man, I love your stuff. Oh my God, you did that!" Like the way people look at you behind the table sometimes keeps driving. Now, of course, when they tell you shit sucks, it also hits you different because it is a passion, right? And it is a feeling, and you catch feelings about certain shit. So
and that's when you blame the editor.
And that's when the editor sucks. But I think that's what it is, right? It starts with the love, the completion of the project, and the accolades or the negative feedback that you're going to get. I think all of that combined is where that passion lies for me.
Cool.
Cool. Hold on. Let me put up a couple of these. From Nita comes the passion. For me, comes from the need to convey emotion through words. Nice.
Yeah. All right.
John says, my passion for my series being the god of my own universe.
Very nice. Very nice.
Are you really though? Are you really the god of your own universe, or are you just the vessel that tells the story?
Ooh.
Because I've found that a lot of the work that I've done, especially the independent work, where I'm sitting there writing, sometimes the characters take over the direction of the story, because you know the characters. You're not guiding the characters, or you're not playing God with the characters. You just go, no, wait, that character wouldn't do that. He'd do this. And all of a sudden you're off on a whole different direction.
And then no longer are you the master of your domain.
So then you have to kill him off and then make a new guy. Do what I want.
Man.
Do what I want.
Bastard turned the 32-page book into a 64-page opus. He must die. Yes.
You must
Done.
You gotta
Making
write
me
it
do extra work now, you bum.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, you just feel the characters are whispering in your ear and they're just telling you the story. You're just like, okay,
Absolutely.
Brian.
they're, transcribing. You're like, am I really, am I fucking insane, or am I, actually working? Right.
That happens to me a lot when I'm dialoguing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That the character pretty much says what there's a direction, and the character's dialogue just pops into the head. And
Mhm.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room?
Uh-oh.
There's an elephant in the room.
Beer better than mine.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but now you mentioned it.
All right, how's this? Here we go. We'll do this. There you go. Now it's gone.
The beard is still better.
I know.
Oh my God.
I was just going to say
It
that.
doesn't help your argument.
That beard is still better. Oh, that's great.
Well, Joe says his co-host is keeping him straight. Daphne says, creating chaos. I want to smooch all my characters. Oh, you mean figurative passion? Oops. There you go. Randy, I'm all the characters in my universe. There you go. Nia says both Legion. I mean both. If Morty wants to know what I'm saying. Hey, yo, Morty. Okay. Wow. Journey's we in here. Yes.
Shut up.
Well, damn.
All right, Mr. Calderon, passion.
Listen, man, I was getting there. I was answering this damn question.
Hey, I'm keeping the show moving. Co-host job.
Right. Okay, you're right. Thank you. That's your job. You're doing it. Pat, for myself, it's always like getting into the heads of the characters and like living in that world. It's for me, it's pure escapism. Is like when I get into the mentality of a character, I'm like projecting myself in a different space. So I'm no longer here. I'm someplace else, and I'm moving through that space. So that's always been my motivating thing, is to get away from where I'm at and to live in that other world. And that's what I would like to share with other people, is like to show them something completely different, which is why I tend to do mostly fantasy, where it's just like you're going in there and you just, what you see outside your house is what a lot of other people are seeing, so it's like, I want to show things that other people don't see, on the regular, so yes, I'm fucking insane. What is this? Hold on, I'm trying to catch up here. Here we go. Real horny hours. Okay. If your characters are talking to you, then they are to blame for trash talk.
Yeah, it's their fault.
There we go.
That's true.
There we go.
Nita, laugh my ass off. Worst thing to happen is to have your characters tell you that you're effing them up in a scene. As a writer, you do those moments where the characters guide you more than you guide them. There you go. Ejaculating yourself in different same, bro. Hey, listen, you got to do what you got to do to make yourself happy.
Yep.
So, Mark, what do you do?
I think the passion that I have is to tell the story, because my little baby has been in this for almost 30 years now. I've been wanting to tell this story. George actually had a chance to read it, and he complimented me on it. And that was like, holy crap.
It's a good story, yeah.
Very happy with that. When I was in San Diego Comic-Con pre-pandemic, I was sitting on the panel, and I told the audience my story. And afterwards, this one guy comes up to me, complete stranger, And he's like, wow, that's a really cool idea. I really like this idea. I can't wait to see the book. I was like, holy crap, there's some complete stranger. He believes in my project. That's the passion right there.
Told you.
Yep.
There you go. And we're joined by Mr. Evan. How you doing, Evan?
Hello, Evan. Welcome to the show.
Guys, how you doing?
What's up, Evan?
Hey, what's up,
Randy, it is especially fantastic to see you, my friend.
Thanks,
I'm
Evan.
glad you are up and at 'em and back at it.
It's good to be seen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
God
long
bless.
story behind that, and I'll crowdfund that book here one of these days. Real soon.
Yeah.
Good. I'll definitely back it.
Nice.
The
Now-
first thing I asked for when I started being able to move my fingers and arms was a pencil and paper. So
Good for you.
yeah.
Good shit.
Seriously. Now, before we move on to the next question, we'll give Evan an opportunity to answer the last one. So, Mark, repeat it for Evan.
For a comic creator, where does your passion lie?
Whew. I think, for me, it's getting emotion that's inside of me out into my story, but also, for someone who has relatively limited artistic ability, it is, laying the book out in a visually appealing manner. I take pride in that as a writer, trying to script my book in a manner so that it appeals to, the audience.
Cool.
All right, cool. All right. So for my next question I got is it more important to be true to yourself in your work or to make money?
Or to make what?
Money.
What's that?
What's that?
Exactly.
We make comic books.
Now listen, I'm gonna dissect this a little bit further for you. If you were offered $10,000, right, to do a story that's outside of your moral code, right? Would you do it, barring anything illegal? Right?
So we got morals.
Exactly. That's the interesting question, because I'm a writer, right? So I tend to have very few morals. But
You're also from Jersey.
that's Sam. All right. We'll start with Randy.
It'd take a lot less than $10,000. I'll pick up on the property. I've done stuff for cash before that that I haven't agreed with. I won't say morally, but politically, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I've done some stuff that was like, really? Okay.
Here it goes.
Guess what? You get, you're paying for the rights of these characters. I'm there. Happy to do it for you. But does that answer your question? I should probably shut up now.
Definitely answer the question. I want to go to Arthur because I'm wondering what spirits he's summoning.
As far as independent comics go, or the comics that I do for myself, I do comics that I want to read.
Mm.
That's the thing. I'm not looking, I'm not sitting there going, oh, that's worth $1 million or anything like that. Or I can't wait. Well, there's a couple characters I've got where I say, I can't wait to see this cartoon come out, but, or some outside merchandising happen, but that's not the driving force behind the story. It's because I see a void in the marketplace and I want to tell a story that's away from everybody else. Well, I can get on a soapbox forever and talk about how stale a lot of the independent comics are, because they're just trying to imitate, everybody else. They need to stop doing that and start being independent. That's the way I feel about it. You're here with a beautiful art form of communication. Like I think Art said that it can be very personal, and it should be. Everybody has a mouse in them.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, they need to do it. They really do, especially if you're in this business and the skills to be in this business. You ought to have a mouse. And I'm not talking about a computer. I'm talking about Art Spiegelman's work that gets banned by stupid people. That's what you ought to do. That's just my opinion.
I got you. All right, hold on. Let me put up a couple of these. We got Evan in the house. It says we're done.
Done.
People write all that stuff as fanfic on AO3.
Yeah.
Much less than 10K. That Indy guy's doing magic in the corner. I've got paid for some really questionable commissions. You either need the money or you don't. There you go.
Yep.
Arthur, what do you got?
You want me to go after Randy?
Well, you can't go before him.
I went to public school. I cannot go after Randy.
Oh, I went to public school too, Arthur. It's all good.
Oh man!
Nice.
We're from a different time.
Best show ever.
Mark, can you remind me of what the question was?
Oh wait, I gotta remind you. All right. So the question was, would you take a $10,000 commission on doing something that you find morally questionable that is legal to do, creating wise, comic world wise, not other stuff wise?
I told JD a secret when I was on the show a couple weeks ago. Y'all don't know, but I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. We have a secret Black comic book creators meeting once a month at what's the name? Joe McPhee's house. He makes pancakes and shit. But we have this meeting. One of the questions that came up was, would you take $20 million cash? That's your profit. You get $20 million if they want to buy your character, your comic, but change the race of your character. Instead of him being Black, he's now white. Now, that's the question that, we asked, and we had a lot of different answers. A lot of people are like, fuck no. I want my original Black character to be, Black and stuff like that. And other people are like, fuck yeah, that's $20 million. I can create other characters. Now, what a lot of people don't know, and I didn't mention this on that show, was Todd McFarlane when they made the first Spawn movie. One of the supporting characters, Terry, instead of him being Black like he is in the comic book, they told Todd, they were like, well, we're going to make him a white guy. And it was the difference between getting like a $10 million movie made versus a $100 million movie made, because they were like, we don't want this movie to be perceived as an all-Black film. This was Hollywood's thinking at the time. So Todd, he was like, well, fuck it. It's just a side character. I don't care. I want this movie to have the biggest budget you can offer. So they went ahead and made that Spawn movie for a little over $100 million. And I thought about that. I was like, would I sacrifice the race or gender of one of my characters for money? And of course, being PC, I'd be like, fuck that, no. But unless it was something that was deeply personal and that character had to be that race or that gender, or what are we using nowadays? Qualifiers like she, they, he, they, all these non-binary motherfuckers that have popped up. I don't know. But I would take the money unless that story really was a personal story about like someone where the character had to be Asian for whatever reason. I would take the money. I'm like, fuck, that's $20 million. It's life-changing money. Hell, even $100,000 is life-changing money to a lot of us. Mm-hmm. I think I answered the question. I don't know.
I think you answered it quite well.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the first time a race swap controversy came up that really bothered me was when they were arguing that Iron Fist should be an Asian, because that completely takes and dismisses the entire idea behind the property. The whole idea behind the property is you had this white guy actually get into this a different cultural situation and master it.
Exactly. And the other part of that is, okay, now you have another Asian Kung Fu character. Yeah. People are going to have issues with that. So you can't satisfy everything. No. Randy is fucking Iron Fist. We don't need another character being fucking Iron Fist. He's been Iron Fist since the 70s. Sabretooth was one of his original villains.
That was a secret.
Oh.
Go ahead.
But they took away his villains.
All right, hold on. Before we move on to the next person, let me throw up some of these. Thank you, Daphne. I'm like, yep, 100%, man. I sell my soul to you. Future Andy. Laugh my ass off, Arthur. Well, at least me and JD have that created a band comic box checked off. Thanks, Texas.
Wait, I'm from Texas.
So many mics being dropped tonight. I am happy that Art remembers the meeting, and it wasn't at my house. It was at Raven's house.
Randy is black.
20 million.
least-
I'm taking the
at least
money.
Art remembered the
money
meeting,
personal, not
Vagina on the
on
forehead.
their forehead. Change the race. It's yours now. I have that character. Anyway,
Obviously, Nita's seen Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I have to jump in here for a second and say that watching Arthur doing his magic in the corner makes me think that we're in a horror movie, and I'm waiting for one of us to drop dead. So if we lose anybody, I've seen this movie before.
Don't go there, dude. Don't go there. I was dead twice over, so
Wait, why do I have lotion?
just don't.
all right. So let's move it over to let's put Evan in the hot seat since he came in late. So you're next, Evan. What do you think?
Well, I think, I mean, all joking aside, we're all indie creators because we don't care about the money. I mean, we have a story that we need to tell, and you know, we're not in it for any sort of monetary, reasons. We have something that needs to be said and stories to tell.
All right. Cool.
Wait, I'm in it for the money. I forgot to mention that part. I'm this shit for the money. My
Just like
Netflix bill is
little
not
bit,
paying itself.
Arthur's like, did I mention I went to public school? What the fuck? I'm in it for the money. Am I next, JD, or we're going?
Yes, sir, you are.
I think, and Evan, I appreciate what you're saying, and I think that a lot of us start off that way, and I'm gonna answer it like this. It depends on where you are in life, right? If I'm a rich man who has money in the bank and money's not an issue, shit, you can't buy me because I have all the money in the world, right? But if I'm broke, I have no money in the bank, and these $10,000 are gonna take me through the next month and the 2 months, 3 months in my life, I'm taking that money. Like, it's just because you're gonna do that because you have to survive, right? And it's like Arthur was saying, is I'll 20 million, shit, I'll create something else, right?
Yeah.
So I think that we want to believe that, yo, man, I'm not taking that fucking money. I'm doing this because I love it, whatever. But when that money's thrown in your face, and depends on where you are in life. If you don't need it, you're not gonna take the money. But if you need that money, that your mind, even if you don't want to, you're gonna say, dude, just we can survive another whatever if you do take that money. So I think it boils down to that for me.
There are little girls everywhere right now on a pole doing a lot for $1. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let's rephrase that to women.
Women, yeah. There are 18 and older women on a pole right now doing a lot for $1.
Oh, mama.
No, this is how I knew we were in a recession. I was at a strip club. I had my dollars. I tried to tip a girl $1. She looked at me and was like, I don't do shit, baby, for less than 10. I was like, what? So I had to tip her a $10 bill instead of $1.
I'd have looked at her and said, I don't want you to do shit. I just want you to take a tip.
Exactly. Brian, what do you got, brother?
$1 my appreciation. Here you go.
I want
I'll
my
see if you
change
get another
back.
one. Yeah.
I would say I've actually been in this situation, not $10,000,
In a
but
strip club? No.
but
At the strip club?
no, but no. I mean, I would say first of all, where I'm at now, and I think absolutely, what's been said depends on where you're at in life. I mean, my gosh, if you're starving to death, do what you need to do. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to judge you for that. But where I'm at, I have the freedom. If somebody comes up to me and is like, hey, I want to pay you a ton of money to do this thing. And I would say, no matter what it is, I'd have to turn them down because I've got like 20 years worth of stories to tell. And that's just where I'm sitting right now. And, I'm in a place where I can do that. And I'm thankful for that. I would do my best to stay true to my conscience. But I mean, yeah, there's some times where, hey man, if it comes down to, taking care of your family, by doing drawing something that you might disagree with in the moment. I mean, it depends on what it is. There are absolute lines that I wouldn't cross no matter what money it is. But I mean, but yeah, I mean, it just depends on where you're at. But for me personally, where I'm at now, I have the freedom to turn that down and focus on what I'm working on for me.
All right, cool. Mr. Mark, what do you got?
I was at a convention one time, and William Shatner was on. And somebody came up and asked him, was he ever embarrassed by any of the movies that he's ever done? And William Shatner said, those movies paid to put my kids through college. Those movies paid to get to pay my bills. I'm not embarrassed about anything. It was work. I'm a work for hire. I did the job, and I'm proud of what I did. Mm-hmm. So if there's a point in time where you need a job, and it is a job, and as long as it doesn't cross whatever baseline you have,
yeah,
I say you should do it. I say, yeah, I'll do it. Sure. Hell, look at the people working retail right now. They're doing it, and they're getting paid $5 an hour.
All right. Fair enough. Look. Early on in my career, I wrote porn, right? I did adult comics. It was look. I had a choice. I could either go flip a burger at McDonald's because I was young, right? I didn't know what I was doing in life, right? Or I could write adult comics. I was like, I'm writing adult comics. There was not a big choice. There you go.
It's got visuals.
I'll send you some copies so you can put that to use.
As long as your face is not in there, we're good. You ruined Pornhub for me.
Listen, I had a guy at my job tell me that when he was in his teens, he would sneak into a comic shop and he would read the books I wrote.
Damn.
The adult books I wrote.
Wow.
And this is the guy I work with. He was just like,
weird.
Yeah, when I met him, I told him, I was like, yeah, I wrote this, that, and the other thing. He was like, no, you didn't. He was like, you couldn't possibly have written that book. I was like, bro, I wrote it. And then he said he looked it up and he was just like stunned. I was like, it's a small world, man. All right, hold on. Let me go through.
And you actually signed your work too, which was
he signed his work.
Whipped out the lotion.
Whipped out the lotion. Women. Facts perfectly said by the Abbott. I know exactly where George is coming from. He's laughing his ass off. Throw some quarters and nickels at her. Damn.
Dude.
exactly.
Support your local strippers with rolls of quarters. All right, we got Joe.
Those hurt.
Yep. I feel this, man. I believe in the words of the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, everyone has their price. It really comes down to if someone can pay said price to get me to do the job. There you go. That is grown ass comments. Make it drizzle. There you go.
Make it drizzle.
All right, Mark, you're up, sir. You're up.
All righty. So this actually comes to me because there's a new show called Preacher that's out, and
Reacher or Preacher?
Oh, sorry, Reacher. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. And the actor who plays Reacher now is a better reflection of what the character was in the guy's books, because you may not know, but Tom Cruise played him in the movies, and Tom Cruise is this guy.
No Reacher, no.
Correct. So when you're creating your characters and you have an idea of them in mind, do you see them as actors already on screen, or do you have them something that you've never met before and you'll know it when you see that person?
All right, cool. I think we're up to Evan.
Yeah, I think maybe not celebrities, but I think of actually people from my past, maybe sometimes for inspiration as to how characters may look or how they may act. There's a lot of myself, and
especially if you get them to die a particularly horrible death. See, he doesn't want to admit it, but it's true.
Perhaps.
There we go.
But yeah, I think
who that looks like. That looks like so and so.
I would say that any sort of movie star, celebrity.
Okay.
Cool. George.
Oh shit. I was not expecting it to go this way. Holy shit. I've never written anything with an actor in mind. I think similar to what Evan's talking about, I think friends of mine have become, the inspiration to some of these characters. because you write what you know sometimes, and sometimes you use these characters because you know their personalities, their how they speak, and so it makes it easier to make these characters unique. So yeah, I've never really actually written with an actor in mind, but definitely friends, family, myself, like Evan said. So yeah.
Cool. Brian.
Yeah, same for me. All my characters usually start out as either different types of my personality or people that I know. Now, once they're established, I have gone through even as a promo bit. In a couple of years ago, I went through and kind of fan casted for one of my books. So like I have actors in mind after the fact, but when I'm creating them, that's not what I'm thinking about.
Cool. Randy?
Again, like we keep talking the whole night, different levels. All depends upon the project. Sometimes you see it with a specific actor in mind, and sometimes you don't. You're just, writing that character. So usually I see or hear particular actors' voices when I'm dialoguing a book.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, if I'm trying to hit a specific mood or get, the character is a specific type. I'll try to hear an animated voice, but
yeah, I'll tell you, one of my characters immediately from the get-go, it was Brian K. Morris's voice in my head. Now it won't go away.
I could see that, kind of like an earworm. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
All right.
Anybody who knows Brian is sitting there like this. Yeah, that could happen. That could happen. That could definitely happen.
Brian has a great voice, though.
Love you.
He does.
He does.
He does.
He does. He's a character.
Of mine became antagonist in my stories, lol. Fuck him. I think a lot about voice casting for characters, although sometimes actors have particular vibes rather than being literal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Arthur, how do you do it?
I know the question this time.
All right.
All right.
Wait, what was the question? No, my approach to characters, I don't think about actors. I think about people. I'm a visual person since I'm not only a writer, I'm an artist. So if I'm out at a coffee shop or a bus stop or wherever, or, at Burning Man, and I see somebody that has interesting features or a certain style of dress, I visualize a character based off, what I see. That's just how my creative process works. Because I'm really big into backstory and world building. And then I'll find characters that it's going to fit in that world. It's kind of like Gotham. You can take Batman out of Gotham City and still tell a lot of amazing stories. And they proved it with the TV show and all these other areas, spinoffs and whatnot. Yeah. But that's my thing. If you can create a world where your main character can be taken out and that world still exists, you've done a great job as a writer. But again, back to the question, I don't think about actors. Only time I think about actors if I'm writing a spec script for a TV show like The Flash. I have 2 spec scripts that I wrote that I have my agent trying to sell to them if they don't fucking I cussed again. My bad. If they don't cancel that show before their people get to read it. But writing a spec script is something that I wish comic book creators did more. It's kind of like fan fiction, but you actually send it to the publishers. Like, hey, this is what I can do with your character. This is what I can do with a story. And they buy it. They buy your story. But yeah, I'm a visual person. I see somebody that looks weird. They might got a mole or a horn growing out. That kind of interests me. I want to date you and marry you and have your horn babies. That's just kind of weird person I am. I look at character, I look at JD and I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to build a character around his look, his identity and stuff like that. Like mad scientist or some shit. I don't know. But now that I know, he's all into writing porn and stuff. Yeah, I can see him as that, Harvey Weinstein writer.
Oh, damn.
He's going to write Harvey's story.
Oh, man.
Shit.
Let me tell you, man, it's fun. That's all I can say about it. It's fun.
Wait, I want people to tell real Stan Lee stories. If they know Stan Lee the way I know Stan Lee, there would be a Surviving Stan Lee documentary out somewhere. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
Oh shit.
But any of y'all that's hung out with Stan Lee at conventions, you know the real man.
All depends on where he was in his life, though.
That's true.
You know, everybody has those stages that they go through. Adam West is a prime example for that. Because there was a couple decades there where Adam West was the most bitterest motherfucker you ever met. And
Adam
then,
touched me.
and then towards the end of his life, literally, he lightened up and realized that, you know, what the value of comedy and fans, and went.
And that's when he came back and did
180.
he came back and even reprised his role as Batman a couple times.
Yep.
So
and was happy to do it. I attended shows where he had to come out in the costume, and you could tell he hated it.
You're right, Joshua.
It was like a clown outfit to him.
Yeah.
I love Stan.
Hated wearing it.
All right, look, for myself, as far as writing characters, I don't know. I mean, I write the characters, I set up the scene, and I start writing, right? But sometimes I don't know if you guys go through this, because I tend to write scenes. I don't plan things out, formulate, in a formula. I sit down, I just start writing, right? So the characters tend to generate themselves, and they say, okay, so this is this person, and then this is what this person's parent, this person's sister, this person's cousin, right? And then you start giving them personalities the more you write, right? And then you start fleshing them out, giving them their own situations and that sort of thing. So for me, it's a little bit more organic. I try to grow out the characters. And then also, since being an indie person, I tend to write out my stories in their entirety. And then I go back and I edit. And then
JD,
and
I
adjust.
Cut you off. Can I ask you a quick question?
Go ahead.
Why is it that I know you write your whole story arcs out? Why is it there's so many indie creators that will write issue 1, and then 6 months to a year later will write issue 2 and so forth? Why is that a thing?
Because they're stupid.
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that work into that too. Like with the whole running theme of the show, different levels. Because some guys do one issue and then they have to make a living and pay some bills, and then they can't get back around to issue 2 for months.
Money,
but they can still write it. It's costing them nothing to write it.
Cost some time.
Yeah.
Cost some time.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, though, time is important, because I work a day job, plus I do this, and plus I write, and I do a whole bunch of other stuff, right? So on my train rides, I tend to write. Okay. So, I have that time, which is technically as dead time as you can get, riding to work, whether it's you're in your car or I ride on the subway and I'm writing, so I'm using that time. So it depends how you use your time most effectively. When I say this stupid, I'm joking, obviously. It's just look, you got to if you're going to be a writer, you got to write, set aside. I always tell everybody, set aside at least an hour a day. You're going to sit down and you're going to write. You're going to push everything else aside and just write, because in the end, you're going to accumulate work. That 1 hour in a year, you'll have a novel, you'll have scads of comic books. You can write 15, 20 comics in a year if you just set aside that 1 hour every day. But that's the one discipline. I have no other discipline in life other than that 1 hour. That's the only one I got. That and sleeping. But I just fall asleep.
It's true though. You find what works for you and what your sweet spot is, and you get into a routine.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, as far as that's concerned, it's a good question, Arthur. I like that.
I try.
Nicely done.
Yes, nicely done. I guess now I'm up, right? Is it my turn?
Well, let me finish. Let me ask my own question, and then I can throw it to you.
That's true. What do you
So for me personally, when I thought up the characters, I thought of who they would be as celebrity-wise. So that way, when I give it to my artist, I can be like, they look kind of like that. So it's like a cheat sheet for the artist to know what they look like, whether or not what they draw is what actually happens, because that didn't happen at all. But they had an idea, and so as of right now, as I've mentioned, we're gearing up to launch the book. My publisher, he got an artist to do an alternate cover. And the artist went to me and he said, "Hey, what do these characters look like?" And I'm like, "These are all the pictures. These are the celebrities that I showed the original artist. They look like that. And this is the image that the guy came from it. Make it work." So that's how I see it. Like every time I think of somebody, oh, that's kind of like Ernest P. Worrell. Well, that's kind of like John Cena. And if you really look at it, John Cena and Ernest P. Worrell kind of look alike. So it's kind of like that type that you look at, and that way it's a cheat sheet for the artist.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Before I ask the next question, I'm gonna go on to some of these. Time is a major factor for creation. I'm freelancing, but even so, the time moves quickly. Even 15 minutes is plenty. If you want to find the time, you will. I wrote 6 issues of Amazonia before I started work on issue number 1. There's a point behind Art's comments. You just wouldn't stop midway in story before you work on it. This is true.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
You know, just to touch on Arthur's question also, I mean, because I was guilty of that, you know, when I was a younger writer coming up, trying to make it in this industry, right? I thought it was easy. I'm just going to write a comic. And so you sit down and you write and you have one issue and now you're like, fuck, where do I go from here? But you've already, you know, got somebody to draw it or you do it yourself and you put it out there and it's like, shit, now what do I do with this? You know, like, where's the story going? Because you never really thought about that beyond the fact that I want to make a comic and I think it's easy and here I go. You know, but I think a lot of that happens too. When you're younger, you know, you don't realize how much goes into this shit.
Yeah. For me, I've always been like a note taker. So I have an entire like world built before I really start writing scripts. And that's just how I work. And that keeps me in line. Otherwise I'll just go rogue and I'll do that. I'll just write an issue and be like, I have no idea what comes next.
Have you always written like that, Brian? Have you always been that kind of person? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. Like that's just my personality. Yeah. So, like, I mean, the Memoirs was the first comic that I started doing, and it's, you know, still ongoing. I mean, I before I even really pulled the trigger on jumping, you know, into the deep end of making comics. I mean, I was working on that story, working on that world for like 10, 15 years before I pulled the trigger. Right. And a lot of it was just because that was just fun for me. I was just, you know, having a fun time, you know, creating this world that I really enjoyed. And I wanted to make it into something, but I never knew how until one day, you know, I did. But that, like I said, that's just me. I naturally gravitate towards, you know, I'm the guy with the Post-it notes and the string. That's what I do before I write a script.
Yeah, Brian touches people in the dark, and he's a serial killer.
No. I touch you in the dark, not just people. I touch you in the dark, and Chad Nuss is the serial killer.
Oh, okay,
right.
Gotcha. That's your AKA. I got you though.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of touching going on this podcast.
A lot of lotion, a lot of touching.
I'm in Colorado. We get ashy. So
there's levels to this shit. There's levels
to it.
Yeah. So Journey says, I'm a novelist. You need time to block of hours, maybe blocks of days. Ask me how I know exactly. Very much.
For me, I carry a lot of spiral notebooks.
Can I ask everyone?
And I usually work off of an outline. I know the beginning, middle, and end of the story, and let the characters. Sometimes let the characters take it. Sometimes I'm guiding the plot straight to the end point, depending upon how large the story is.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Arthur, you had something else to ask? Go ahead, go.
I asked this on my show, the Indy Comicbook guy, the Indy Comics guy on YouTube. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But the question was, it used to be pre-Kickstarter, pre-crowdfunding days. An indie guy may be able to push out 1 or 2 issues because, like y'all said earlier, they're working a day job. It's just something that is their passion project. Mm-hmm. Why is it that you have people getting $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 and up $1,000? The production has not increased when it comes to indie creators producing the books. And some of these guys are getting that money on a regular basis every time they launch a campaign. So why is it that the output still is 1 to maybe 2 issues a year?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's.
That's a good question.
It's what I do for a living. I'm getting a new subscriber.
So, Brian, you got an answer?
Oh, okay. I was just saying it was a good question. No, I mean, my first thought is I think a lot of people don't really know what they're doing. And when they start off, especially like if you've got the talent, if you've got, if you can rake in $12,000 with a campaign, I mean, I can't tell you how many people that just in the last like 7 years that I've really been in the business, like you look at their work and you're like, man, they got it together. They've got some awesome stuff. They're super talented. Their story looks amazing. And I'm still waiting on one story that looks amazing that I backed 4 years ago. And it was a $40,000 campaign.
Damn.
And yeah, and the dude got tons of money and has made 3 pages to show for it. And so I think what a lot of people, and that's not every situation. I think people a lot of times they either bite off more than they can chew. They get screwed in shipping and fulfillment. A lot of it comes back to bite them in that category, or they overpromise and rewards and stretch goals. Or I mean, I know someone personally, their goal, they put out 1 book a year, and that's their plan because they got other stuff going on. And that book is wonderfully well done. It's about 55 pages long. It's great. But that's it. That's all you get. It's just 1 book a year, 1 campaign a year. So I think it depends. Some people, they go into it knowing that that's the pace they want to take, and other people it's irresponsibility. Or it is or it's just they're learning as they go. So I think it varies.
We had when Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark came out, we had this guy on our show. He decided that he can make a better Spider-Man play for no money. And he did. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. It's called the Spidey Project. It's 4 parts. It's really funny. It's really entertaining. Music is great. And I had him on the show. And I had asked him, I said, what would you do if they gave you the amount of money that they made for the Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark? Because it was like, what, a couple $1 million, however much that was that they paid to get that travesty of a play out. And he said, I would make my play and then take the rest of the money on a $50 million vacation.
There you go.
So if you get a whole big bag of money and it only costs so much and you get extra money, like, I'm going to take a vacation, and then the stuff doesn't get done.
It's like The Producers by Mel Brooks.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
Randy, what do you got?
I would just say that the crowdfunding era that we're in now is still at the beginning. And it's literally the wild, wild west out there. And you get people that are civilized and people that have no ethics whatsoever. Yeah. Some folks look at it as a cash grab. Some folks look at it as actually doing art and turning it into their living. So, and that there really needs to be a kind of almost like a rating system for some of these folks, because I've known, I've run across people that literally blew their crowdfunding campaign on concerts and bills,
No,
concerts and movies.
Vince White, he went on vacation after he did that Flat Earth comic, and people still haven't seen that comic book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those people need to be, called to task, but at the same time, those people are also dragging down the reputations of everybody else that are out there trying to make a living.
Yep.
And
that should be a Uber
that those folks need to be pointed at and said that's not what we do here.
If I had a bell, I would ring it, Randy. Well done.
There you
go. Said. There you go, man.
I was actually talking to George about this, that they should have like some type of insurance for the Kickstarter campaign, that you pay a little extra to guarantee that you'll get your money back if the product isn't done by a certain time.
Well, thankfully, the larger crowdfunders won't let you crowdfund again until you fulfilled the previous campaign.
Yeah.
And that rule should quite honestly apply to everybody, because there's big time professionals out there that are a year or two late and have done multiple campaigns that they shouldn't have. And they should be concentrating on getting product out and entertaining people more than, I don't know, doing toys and hats and hoodies or whatever the hell else that they want to do. You know,
if you think about it, if you want to go back to when Image first came out, that they were super late with all the delays and stuff because they were making so much money.
Yeah. Well, Image is an interesting story. Yeah, that's, a very interesting tale, and that as a company, they've had their highs and lows.
Yeah, Image, and Ninja Turtles. It's a very rare bird.
Well,
both of those things are very different stories, but
you have these phenomenons that spring up. But
and I would say, pro tip, just if your personal expectation, if your personal goal is if you're not personally offended by your own actions, if you start a campaign and you haven't fulfilled the one that you've done, that's a red flag for me.
Yeah.
If you can't pull a sense of ethics, we're all here, especially at the independent comic producers, should be leading by example.
Yeah, for sure.
Quite frankly. And your book could be the most amoral or immoral work that you've ever done, but your work ethic is what really comes through and shines out. You know, and that's what, and you are working for the entire, and the larger for the entire industry, and the larger your reputation is, the more you should be conscious of that.
Yep, absolutely.
You make 40,000 on a 32 or 50 or 60 page book. You should deliver that as quickly as possible, and then spend the money like a madman. Then go off on that cruise after everything's been fulfilled.
Right.
Because quite honestly, you deserve it.
Oh yeah.
Good for you. You made a lot of extra money. That's awesome. Do it, but perform. Your people are paying you to perform.
Yeah. No, celebrate. Work hard, play hard.
Yes,
but don't just play hard, because then you'll never be able to. Because then and I don't understand the logic behind that either. Because it's like you have to know that now no one is ever going to back anything you do again.
Well, and again, we live in a world where when you're in high school, you get every credit card company coming to your door offering you a card. You have to learn to be physically responsible.
Yeah.
For the money that's coming in. You can't just go, hey, I made 40 grand. Fuck you. I'm going on a cruise. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll do the book later. You can't do that. You can't do that.
There are all kinds of people out there who make those mistakes. And you hear about people who are perpetually broke, or perpetually living off of their credit cards. These are the same people. Hold on, Evan, how do you feel about it?
I understand, where you guys are coming from with those arguments. I think also, though, to make a quality book, it takes time. For me, with Silence, to have a guy like Alex Sanchez, who's worked for the Big Two, who, works for IDW, Dynamite, for him to do this gig, number one, costs a fair chunk of change. But also, his schedule is very demanding. So, he can only go at about, 1 page a week. And if Silence is a 3-issue series, you're looking at 66 pages. That's a year and a quarter there just in pencils and inks, and then, lettering, editorial, proofing. I think I came up with a concept in fall of 2018, and the book just hit shelves, 2 weeks ago. So the reality is, it takes time if you want to put out a good book.
But wouldn't that lean to making as much as you can before the money starts coming in, so that way you're ready to go when the money comes in?
For me, that the pace I want to go at is what I'm doing, and I went the traditional route. I've crowdfunded books before that had, big numbers, and I think you have to balance it out as you build your reputation, in the traditional manner. That'll help your crowdfunding later on.
And I think it's important to be upfront. Like for me, I know people that will have everything absolutely done ahead of time before they even launch a campaign. Me personally, I'm usually halfway through with the book, so I've got enough that I can show, and then I'm working for the rest of the timeline. But I give a timeline of realistic expectations of when to expect this book, and if anything is delayed, boom, I'm updating. I'm as transparent as freaking possible, and I'm saying, hey, Here's where we're at. This is what you should expect. All this stuff. Zero excuses. It's just being transparent.
Communication is the key.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because so many creators, man, like they'll just ghost their backers because whatever reason. It's like those backers, they're in your corner. They want this book. And all you have to do is just bring them in the loop. You know what I mean? Just bring them in the loop. And most of them will still stick with you.
Yeah.
And if it's valid, if it's just like, oh, I didn't feel like it this week, don't worry. Like that's different.
Can you imagine if someone said that? Like, I wasn't feel like working today. See you next week.
Right, yeah. Like here's the thing, you do that with your employer in a day job, you get fired immediately. It's like I didn't feel like it today.
All right, hold on. These Arthur dropping mics. Darren, he says, make it drizzle. That's me.
Wow.
Make it drizzle?
Yep.
All right.
Oh,
Drizzle.
Oh, man.
Oh, shoot.
I wrote a novel 15 minutes a day for 6 months. It can be done. It's about making do with what you have.
Yeah.
Nice panel. I hear Rodman guy is a hack.
Terrible guy. Don't listen to anything he says.
Then time opened up and I was able to finish it. It was terrible, but I learned a lot about time management in that time. Damien says, preach, Randy. He says, jokes aside, Ryan should be a case study in how to handle a Kickstarter. JD as well. And as long as you can stay in contact with backers, they're very forgiving. And it's true. If you just be honest with people and just let people know what's going on, they tend to be all right with it. George.
Yeah. I think you guys nailed everything. I think that when it comes to I heard Randy say we should be able to say, hey, it's fulfilled before you can actually go to the next one. But I think Kickstarter has little buttons that you can click, fulfilled. And as long as those buttons are clicked, they're okay with it, even if you didn't really fulfill it. So there's a little hack that you can get around creating your next project without actually fulfilling. Because how are they going to know other than just the honor system, I think.
George, don't tell people this.
Now you ruined everything. Kickstarter is going to go down tomorrow.
I know.
The unscrupulous people already know that.
Oh yeah, of course. But I think that when it comes to indies, right? Maybe we can be a little more forgiving because we understand, like Evan said, it costs money to do this, and you don't have everything up front. You want to get a nice artist, and you want to get that done. What gets me is when the people with money do it, right? Like I'll give you a perfect example. I'm gonna shut it out. We're talking about Stan Lee. Stan Lee's Back Channel Volume 1. It's a collected edition of his webcomic. They raised $100,000. The campaign funded in May of last year. Got nothing yet. Nothing. I believe it. I think I got one. 2 days ago I got an update. This is update number 12 in a year. So I guess they're doing it on a monthly basis. I don't know, but the book is going to be slightly behind schedule. No shit. As the story gods, and this is the reason, as the story gods have struck from above with a creative curse that has caused us to take a bit longer than anticipated in adapting the webcomic to print and reworking the story. But they never said what the curse was, what the reason is. It's as vague as fuck. And we're supposed to just say, hey, it's cool. But you know what? It's Stan Lee. So if something else comes out from them that Stan Lee made, they're probably going to make another $100,000.
Yeah.
Well, if you know about Stan Lee's career, the later in his life, he wasn't necessarily known for savvy business decisions.
Right.
No.
True.
Yeah, there were some people that swarmed around him that were, pretty questionable. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's
People
a couple of great biographies out on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vultures.
Mark, you got any thoughts on this before we move on?
No, I think I covered it. We're all covered with that one. So yeah.
All right, cool. So here's one for you guys. At what point do you change dance partners? Right. So at what point, let's say you work with an artist for a long time, right? And it comes a point where you're just like, you know what? I think I might have to move on for whatever reasons. There's always reasons, right? It could just be, you want a different look, you want a different sound. But at what point do you say to yourself, you know what, man, it's time to go in a different direction, right? And I think, was it George? Wasn't it?
It was George. He did it.
Thanks,
Sister.
Arthur. Thanks.
He's gonna tell you about levels to this shit.
At what point do you change dance partners? Like, and it just for no reason, just because you think it's time to go move on?
You're in a polyamorous relationship with the artist.
Exactly. Do you think with this art, with any artist, it could be any reason, like what would be your point of saying, okay, it's time to go in a different direction? You understand? Like what is it for George? You would say like, all right, like this person's doing this person's doing that.
Yeah, I think it has to do with how much time is being spent on the book. So if there are delays in art, right? If for some reason I see that you're not as committed as you were to the project as you were at the beginning, now things are changing, and all of a sudden, you're doing other things, and my pages haven't come in, but I'm on social media, we follow each other, and you are posting amazing work by that you're doing somewhere else, which you can do. I think if there is no communication saying, hey George, I'm going to be late on this because I have this going on, I think at that point when the communication is broken, I think just like in any other relationship, at that point, you just got to move on. You got to say, all right, you know what? I think this is where we end, and I'm gonna move on to the next artist, and so forth.
Cool. Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that completely. I think also, from a creative standpoint, like sometimes a story requires a different style of art. And if like for me, I am my own artist, and I tend to lean more into like a early 90s animation look for my art. And if I want something that does not look like that looks more realistic, I would not draw that. I would find someone that fits that style that I trust and that I depend on, or that I know I can depend on. And I would pursue that in that way. But like, and in that sense, I would then break up with myself for a time. But no, I mean, I think creatively, I think that's a time to at least take a break on a project to to work with somebody else.
Andy, what do you think?
Exactly what Brian said.
Word for word. Perfect.
Word for word. No, there's my style tends to be, it's not 90s animation cartoon, it's more like 60s. And that's just the way I draw. That's the way I like to draw. And if I come up with a story that's more serious than that, you go out and you find yourself a more serious artist. Yeah. But I have them sit down and do full character sheets and do a test page before I hire them.
Oh, hell yeah.
So that I know. And even then, you never know. You never know people. Yeah. I've got whole books of or situations either. I got whole issues together of stuff that will be lucky to ever see the light of day. Yeah, that's all already paid for, and that I'm ecstatic over that. The quality of it was perfect. But some stuff will make it, some stuff won't. But what can you do? You have to know, like what Brian says, your limitations. And if a story is too serious, you go out and you get yourself the help that does. But the thing that you need to, all the independent creators need to know, is you literally get what you pay for. If you go out and you find yourself a guy who's lettering a page for $5 a page, you're going to get $5 a page worth of quality.
Yep.
That's exactly what you're going to get. So you go out and you find people that have quality, and that means budget. That means you pay for people to do stuff.
Remember the rule: it's good, fast, and cheap. You can only get 2 out of the 3.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep.
Very much. Arthur, what do you got?
This guy. When I first started creating comics, I was green. I did not know how to direct an artist, so to speak. So when I first started, my first book was Battle Eulogy, and I hired Marcelo Salazar. I didn't know he was a hoe in the industry. What I mean by hoe was he was pimping his services out to everybody that would hire him. Good for him, bad for the rest of us, because what he did was, when you got your art, he just blocked out everything. Everything was in shadows. So he took all these shortcuts. That way he didn't have to, really do the work. Oh, this is in shadows. This is in shadows. This is silhouette. He took a lot of shortcuts. And again, I was green to the industry. I did not know that what he presented to me could have been better. And that he was taking all these shortcuts with 4, 5, 6, 7 creators just to fill his pocketbook. I did not know that at the time. Now I have that knowledge. So one of the first things I do ask artists is, how many projects are you currently working on? And of course they can lie. But if they tell me 2 or 3, I'm expecting, okay, I'm going to get my pages at a slower rate, at a slower time frame than if they were just working on one other project. So that's important to me because then I can make that decision. Is now the time to hire this artist? Or if they are working on 3 books already, mine's going to be number 4. That means I'm never going to fucking see that. My second project I worked on, War is Chosen. I hired JC Grande. Again, I was still green. Some pages he would turn in were absolutely phenomenal. Others, it was like he just sketched it out and went to ink it, and it was like, here you go. Again, it was a learning curve for me, being a new writer, new to the industry. Again, to, hey, number 1, I need a rough layout before you actually start doing the art. That way I have an idea what the finished artwork will be. And secondly, to tell an artist, not be afraid of, hey, you need to redraw this. A lot of freaking indie writers are afraid to tell the artist to redraw a freaking page.
Whoa.
Oh, he's mad now.
Easy.
All right.
You are paying them. Do not be afraid to tell them to redraw some shit. Or if they just like, okay, this looks good, and you can tell the last 3 panels, they just rushed through to get it done, redraw that. Where's my background? The rest of these pages have backgrounds. Why the hell does this page not have a background? So will I fire a motherfucker? Damn right. There are too many lazy artists that will pimp out their services to multiple people and half-ass the job. Now, before you hired this artist, I'm assuming you looked at their body of work in some capacity. You know what their end work should look like. If that's not what they're turning into you, 1, they don't care about your project, which is work for hire. I get it. They're not going to be passionate like you are. But that's telling me that they're just doing the bare minimum on that page because they got 4 or 5 other pages they're trying to get done, and they're trying to hit all these deadlines. Second thing I realized, a lot of indie creators writers don't give these artists deadlines. Why aren't you giving these people deadlines to turn in these works? That should be in your contract. Another thing, a lot of them don't have contracts. A lot of them don't have trademarks. A lot of people don't have copyrights. Why? We need to turn these creators into business people, which is a different skill set. If they don't want to do it, hire people that will help put them in that position to copyright, trademark.
Damn. So that is some passion. See, there's the passion.
Yeah. Understand that if you're paying $50 at the bare minimum to $100 a page, you are expecting a certain level of fucking quality. They cannot deliver on that quality. I'm hiring Daphne. Where's she at? She in the chat room still? I'm hiring somebody else. But at the same time, I hate when I get a trade and the artwork, they switch artists, and the artist that they switch doesn't match the same artistic style as the first guy. That's a pet peeve of mine. So when I have to do it on my own book, damn right I'm mad. Damn right you're getting super fired. Because why? You fucked me. I paid you. I've sold over probably 12,000 comic books via Antarctic Press, freaking Second Sight Studios, Advent Comics, and Alterna Comics. So actually, I sold over 12,000. I sold a lot of comic books. But the point is, I've learned a lot in that process. One thing people don't think about, and I know this has nothing to do with the question, how things will look when they are printed. They don't think about that. As a creator, you have to think about how that end product is going to look. That will separate from being dope or trash. Dope or trash. You have to think about these things. So yes, Fire our artists who are not fulfilling their contract, who are not meeting their deadline, who are bullshitting on your pages because you know, and some people just get excited. They're just happy to be a part of the industry. They're just happy somebody drew their characters. They're not looking at that quality. No, if I hired you and I'm paying $75 an hour and I have to work overtime at Pizza Hut, yo, you better give me some good ass pages because I worked overtime at fucking Pizza Hut for you. Otherwise, you're out of here. I pay artists in 5-page increments.
Right.
After those 5 pages, here's your money, and so forth. It costs at the bare minimum, and this is just a production, I say $3,000 at the bare minimum and up. That's not including printing, promotion, all that good stuff. So if I'm paying $3,000 for art, letters, colors, and all that, I want the best. That's all I'm saying. If you can't give me the best, you're not qualified to work on an Arthur Bellfield production. I'm sorry. Everybody should have higher standards, especially nowadays when you're not even getting the fucking physical artwork. What's that about? People don't realize you can ask this artist, put it in your contract. Hey, you're drawing by pen and ink. I want my pages. Let's make an arrangement so I can get the original art. What are you going to do with it? Sit in the corner? It's going to get messed up, coffee stains? No, give me my original artwork if you're doing traditional comic book art. Put it in your contract if it's not in your contract. Hell, I'll pay for the shipping and handling. I want my freaking original artwork. If you're not asking for your original artwork, you're doing yourself and your book, your IP, a disservice. Now, if they're doing digital artwork, well, and that you can do.
I think we should all hire Arthur to fire anybody who needs firing.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Via cell phone, so that he drops every time he gets mad, and then it becomes more. And you're like, "Oh shit, he's serious." You know what I mean? I agree.
And if it's digital, just tell them to give them your computer.
Yeah, give me your computer. I want your laptop. And I want your Starbucks gift card. I want it all.
That's what NFTs are for.
That's it.
Future, yes. Evan, what do you got?
I think you're right about the firing thing. Maybe Apprentice 2022.
Yes, I'd watch that show.
But yeah, I think to touch on a little bit of what everyone said. Number one, as a creator, you want to challenge yourself. So you want to work with different top caliber artists, and sort of going to Brian's point about certain stories needing a different look. Shop around, look at different styles. Silence wouldn't be Silence without Alex Sanchez. Cat Lady wouldn't be Cat Lady without Nick's art. And then also, going back to time commitment, writing a full script, takes time. But I've been lucky enough to work with a couple of guys who work Marvel style, which is much easier with me having a full-time job. I give them basically a one sheet of an idea, and they do all the layouts on their own. Then we fill in the blanks after, so much less time consuming.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Let me run down the chat before we continue. All right. Translation: there are copyright issues that may still be surrounding that book. Damien says, I finally had to put the hammer down on my long-term venture involving an artist who's made me wait for art. Almost never good and cheap. Carlos says, hey, fellas.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
Joshua says, that indie comics guy is my hero. Carlos says, good to see you, Randy.
Good to be seen, Carlos.
Damien says, any artist who isn't trying to rip you off will be willing to redraw if necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's absolutely right. Arthur speaks the truth, and I'm a big enough asshole to fire people myself. Actually, he's coming from. There you go. He won't be taking up our offers. I mean, for myself, it's always a thing of like, it's one of those things that as projects grow, sometimes, you might feel the need to like expand out and just move on with a different look, for an artist. That's always been my thing. But Mark, it was your turn. What do you think about it?
I think for me personally, the only time would be if a deadline is coming up and the product is not being delivered, because we've all talked about how important that deadline is. And usually I've worked with a couple people I've throughout the years, and I think of it as a movie director, like Tim Burton. They always say, "Oh, he works with the same people." There's a reason why he works with the same people, but at certain times he will branch out depending on what the project is needed. So if I'm working with the same guys all the time, I have a good relationship with them. Unless the project determines that I have to go a different route, I'm going to stay with them until they're not delivering what I need to do within that deadline.
All right, cool. Let's see something. Oh, guys, I'm trying to do something. Oh, this is not what I wanted.
So while he's doing that,
Yeah.
let's share a story.
All right.
Oh, you got it? All right,
Ask
excellent
the next-
question. Okay.
Good.
We actually mentioned this earlier with the editor. Let's say you hire an editor as the person to be the true editor and be in charge of the product. And you as the writer-creator, do you step down when you have an argument, or do you let his decision be the right one?
All right. We were up to Randy.
I wouldn't hire an editor. I'd hire a proofer. I'd hire somebody to look over my stuff. My wife's really good when it comes to spelling and grammar and comma placements and all that. But especially on an independent book that I'm mostly in control of, Yep. So if there's an editorial mistake, that comes back to me. You know, I know who to blame. But when I'm working for a client, that's all their responsibility. I'll sit there and work with them. I'll do the artwork and run create the entire comic page, and they always get to sign off on it, so that if there is a mistake, they can take the responsibility for it.
All right, cool.
Good looking cover.
But usually with my clients, though, it goes underneath a number of different eyes, so everything gets caught. If even the third or fourth time through. So.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, Randy, but I wanted to talk. I wanted to get in this project in silence. So it looks awesome. Emmy, want to just give us the quick pitch?
Yeah. So Silence was released February 16th, issue 1, and it's a timely story about stress and sort of the dark repercussions of allowing stress to get out of control in your life. It's very much based on my own experience with sort of juggling too much to the point of, having some health issues. And, I teamed up with my Time Grunts buddy, Alex Sanchez, on this. He's a big horror fan. And it's got a real retro vibe. You would probably, it would be most relatable to DC's Tales of the Unexpected from the 70s. It's very much character driven. The protagonist is someone that we both love and hate at the same time. And yeah, some awesome artists doing variant covers. Michael Golden did the first one for issue 1. And then an up and coming artist named Brian Silverbacks did number 2. So yeah, check it out if you get a chance. It's published by Second Sight. They've been fantastic in promoting the book. And I'll be in Northport, Alabama with Brian March 16th. The day issue 2 is going to be released, and that's his variant cover there. Really awesome work.
Now, is this an ongoing series, or do you already have everything planned out for the finale?
It's all planned out. Issue 3 will be out in April. It's a 3-issue limited series.
Okay. Cool.
Awesome.
That's your other title.
Yeah, it will be. This is the first ongoing series I'll be working on, also published by Second Sight, called Athena the Undying. Issue 1 will be out later this year. That is a variant cover that you can get on the Second Sight website right now. Art's by Stefano Cartacelli, an Italian artist.
I love Cartacelli's work. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's sort of like a mix between Frank Miller and James O'Barr. Does his own watercolors. And he's fantastic to work with. So I'll have a lot of projects out with him later this year.
Sweet.
Nice.
Awesome.
How many projects are you looking to get out this year?
So I'm sort of chunking it. The first 3 will be Silence, 1, 2, 3. And then I'll have a story with Stefano in Harvest of Horrors, number 3, which will be solicited in April. And then we're doing a story called Sister Kate in sort of Brian Silverback's Kara Prime universe. That one's going to be a Kickstarter. That'll be in April as well.
All right, cool. Yep. Yeah. Listen, I'm looking forward to it. Are they all coming out through Second Sight?
Sister Kate is not. That's a Kickstarter, but we are pitching it to several publishers, so may have some news on that soon.
All right, cool. All right, I disturbed you next. I'm sorry. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm working in reverse. Arthur, you were supposed to answer the next question.
Huh? Me?
Go for it, Mark. Let them know.
The question was, let's say you would hire an editor, someone to make this project come all together. And then as a creator, you come to a part where there's a difference of opinions, or where do you stand? Do you fire the editor? Do you step back? Do you let him make the decision? What do you do?
Mark has the perfect voice for radio.
Well, that's why I'm on the radio. Thank you.
If we have a difference of opinion, I'm from the school of learning from people and sacrificing ego for the sake of story and growth. So if the difference of an opinion is based on pacing, character arcs, story arcs, and things of that nature, I'm going to listen, because when you write, a lot of times you're writing in a vacuum and you don't have people there along the way to give you thoughts on character progression. Is this a strong enough protagonist? Is the antagonist a weak-ass simp? Like, you need people that understand the basic anatomy of story. And this goes back to my conversation. I tell people, when I have conversations with screenwriters, with prose writers, with playwrights, they're very different conversations than I have with comic book writers, because a lot of comic book writers don't take those things into account. You have to have, some people call it the hero's journey, or, you know, that character progression. You have to have these elements. So yes, I want the editor to let me know, hey, Arthur, your protagonist sucks. They're just very vanilla. They're plain. There's no redeeming characteristics about this character, or there's nothing about them to make the readers want to read and learn more about this character. So yes, disagree with me, because I need that ego slapped in the face, like you're slapping your mama. I need that ego slapped in order to make that story greater. Anyone that says, you know what? No, it's my story, it's my way, all the time, fuck my editor. Well, you might have hired a sucky ass editor that doesn't know the basics of story, that doesn't know the framework of what the difference is between story and plot. If you just hire somebody who's just there, like you said, an editor just overseeing the project, that means to me, even when the letters come in, that editor's going to look at that dialogue and be like, you know what? Comics are a fusion of art and story. You have too much fucking dialogue, Arthur. Let's chop it. Having too much dialogue is always a good problem, because you can chop it versus having little dialogue. You cannot just rely on your artist to be that master storyteller because you suck. Sometimes as a writer, you have to step up and do the freaking writing. So if I have a good editor, I trust them to do their job. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on for a second. No, because I find it interesting, because I'm with guys that I'll be like, fuck that editor, fuck his life, fuck that guy. But I'll sit back, right? I was like, let me just shut up and let me think about it. And it takes 2 or 3 days, because you gotta, that's the things, right? You gotta sit back and really like absorb it. And then that's how you can crush down your ego. You're like, okay, I'm sorry.
You know, I made the mistake of hiring people who claim they're editors that are not professional editors. Like, I hired Chuck Pinu. He did a fucking spell check and grammar check. And I realized he's a nice guy, but he's not a professional editor. I learned from my mistakes and had to hire a real editor to do the job. I need publishing credits outside of friends and family. I vet people now. I've learned that. Joe McPhee taught me a big lesson about vetting people, doing your research on people. If a medium-sized or major publishing house has not hired you, hell, I'll take a school newspaper at this point. I need somebody, a company that has invested time and money in you versus self-publishers.
Yeah.
Self-publishers don't know what they want as far as an editor. They don't. A lot of them have never worked with a real editor, so they don't know what they need, what that project needs. That's what I mean, to explain it better. So yes, hire somebody with fucking experience that can deliver and help make that story better, because it's going to be better for your project. Fuck your ego. Hire somebody who has worked for a real publishing house, not their friends and family.
You almost have to go one better than that, Arthur. Everything that you do, especially if you're working with a lot of different people or you're working with a lot of people on a project, preparation is the key.
Mm-hmm.
And I've run across a lot of professional editors that don't know their ass from a hole in the wall.
Nope.
You know, not just the ones that hire themselves out independently, people that have had experience at, shall we say, the big two, which aren't that big anymore.
No.
That can't edit. Or
I'm
at least
check this.
Or at
If
least
my
can't
English
edit properly.
Is better than yours. We have a fucking problem.
Yes. That's why I'm usually the editor on the stuff that I do, because you know, it's good help is hard to find.
This is very true. Evan, you were up. What do you got?
Well, I think you know, the best editor will show you tough love, whether you like it or not. And there are going to be times where you definitely disagree with them because you take it personally. You may have even had some works published, but you know, in the end, like you said, you have to let it sink in for a few days. You know, recently, you know, I had some advice that sort of hit at home. You know, someone said, you know, when you sit down and take this seriously, you know, that made me take a step back and reread a script and say, hey, you know what, I need to, you know, rehash this out. But in terms of, you know, any indie creators looking for someone, you know, I highly recommend Andrea Molinari from Scout. He also does a lot of freelance editing. He also writes Shepherd for Scout Comics, but I definitely value, you know, his opinion in terms of story breakdown, especially. And you'll find some editors are better at certain aspects, you know, like maybe I wouldn't look to him as much in terms of dialogue, but definitely story breakdown and, you know, a logical flow of ideas.
I like that.
Yeah.
Shepherd's a good ass book. I love that book.
It's a good book.
George.
I get that book 2 lotion pumps.
Oh man,
Two.
just two. Wow.
George, what do you got?
Oh
I
man,
woke y'all up.
I think you know the panel has spoken. I think that you definitely do have to surround yourself with people that know what the fuck they're doing, so that when you are like Arthur said, in that vacuum, you're able to just say, oh wow, okay, I didn't look at it that way. But I also think that you need to surround yourself around the right people, right? And I think that whenever you're working with anyone, I think there's got to be a level of respect. They have to respect your work and you respect theirs in return, because you can't work with somebody who looks at you as, oh, you're just a dumb writer. You have no idea what the fuck you're doing. I'm just going to walk all over whatever the fuck you're writing and change it because you don't know what you're doing. I don't think that that's the correct, you know, that's not a good editor either. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be careful of those people as well. And like Arthur and you know, and Randy and even Evan was saying, you know, you got to vet these people, right? You got to make sure, hey man, if I'm listening to you, I need to see some results. I need to see work that you've done that is actually good work, and not just the same shit that I can fucking do on my own. Because if that's the case, I'm just gonna get a proofreader and keep it moving and learn on my own. So especially when you're spending the money, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to spend that money and then you're not getting any results. So that's what I think on that.
Brian, what do you got?
I don't really have too much more to add. My answer is essentially a combination of Randy's and George's. But I would say this also, depending on the different projects that I'm working on, I'm handpicking editors that I know personally. Talk about vetting. I mean, I don't team up with people unless I know them well. That's just a rule of mine. I think it saves a lot of headache. Doesn't save all the headache. Stuff always can happen, but I mean that's my rule number one. with collaboration on any level. I mean, my editor for Memoirs of an Angel has a PhD in world religions and you know, spiritual theology, or spiritual, like the unseen realm type, angels, demons, like that. That's a focus of his. So it fits perfectly for what I'm doing. If I go off the rails, he's like, hey, what the heck is this? Stop it, you know. And he can help me. But at the end of the day, he works well with me because I'm in charge of my book. It's my book, it's my thing, but I also submit to his knowledge that he has, you know, that he brings to the table. For the nebulizer, I work with Stephanie Menard. She's my editor for that project. She's great. And you know, she steps in, she's encouraging. She was you know, there was a part of the issue that came out that needed to be changed, and she added some suggestions, and it worked great. And you know, another editor that comes to mind is Brian K. Morris. Mentioned him earlier. I think he's a great editor. People that, you know, you get people that, you know, that have credentials that can do the work. And I think if you're surrounding yourself with those people, you're in a good spot.
All right, cool. Now, before we move on, I'm just gonna hit the chat real quick. Zamir Mouse, higher from down under all.
Hey, Zamir.
Yep. Nita says, "How's it going, mate?" Good, thanks yourself. Says, "I hired Netta for the first time for the new Remarkables. In some cases, I deferred to the editor's suggestions, and in some cases, I kept my original idea. But this made writing much stronger, and I'll work with this editor again." And then Andrea was once interested in American Revered, but that book had too many delays, and now I'm doing that whole book. Okay, well, I'm redoing that.
Video drops tonight. He might change his mind.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I know for myself, as far as working with editors, I know, like, my friend who works professionally as an editor and as a proofer, I get back my scripts after I give it to him, and it's just covered in red ink. It's just like
nice.
It's just like, yeah, well, you know, I stomped on you one more time. Have you not learned your lesson yet in, you know, the last 4 years? I barely have it. So sometimes you need that, though. You know, you need to sit back and it was like, okay, now, you know, you have to figure out these things. And it's just like, because one of the big things with him is like, he would tell me, he says, you constantly repeat yourself. You know, you say one thing and then you repeat it again in the story. It's not necessary. You've already said it, move on. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things you just like, you know, say, okay, so you just scratch that out. And that's one of the things I'm constantly, before I give it to him, is it was an issue probably 10 years ago. Now it's not an issue. So I go over it and I'm like, okay, make sure I take out all that stuff. And it just makes you more self-aware of stuff that's going on in the story, you know. Mr. Mark, how do you feel about it, sir?
So once again, speaking from personal experience, as I mentioned, the book is becoming a Kickstarter campaign. Sometime the publisher guarantees it's coming out this year. The book was already written and drawn. It still needs to be finished inking, coloring, and lettering. So the publisher went and got an editor to edit the dialogue and some of that stuff. And he came back and once again was like red crosses all over the place. Like, all right, I see what he's trying to do. I'm awesome with it. But the publisher had a suggestion. And the publisher said, you know, your characters, they don't have superhero costumes. You think they can have superhero costumes? And I was like, well, first of all, the book is already drawn. And secondly, the book takes place in one day. There's no time to change into costumes or stuff. So, no. So in that way, you know, it's just what you have, what you're planning to do, and what the suggestion is.
Yeah. Sometimes editors will come at you and they'll ask you, you know, could you change it, you know, to this? You know, could it be blue instead of purple? You're like, why? Right?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, why? So I don't know. I like blue. It's like, okay, I like purple. You can stuff that one. Thank you. I've had those disagreements with editors. You know, you work with people, and here's the thing. You know, you hire professionals to do things for you, right? And sometimes they'll make a suggestion, and sometimes you're just not feeling it, right? Like I got one suggestion, right? Well, you know, like we all know on Kickstarter, right? What sells big? Boobs, right? Boobs sell, right?
So they said
So-
that Aldwell has a sex change operation.
Did you say boobs?
I
Yeah,
said
four boobs.
yes, more books. So, but the thing is, though, is I'm like, but I'm not doing a book that's based around that, that has that type of lead. So I'm like, there's nothing I could do with that, So I don't even want to like play in that realm. So it's just like, I have a character who has boobs, but I'm not gonna put that character in the central focus because that's not what it's about, So I mean, yeah. So sometimes you run across these situations where you just got to discuss it. You just got to rationalize it. Look, it is what it is. Sometimes you have those things. All right, gentlemen, we've reached the 2-hour mark, so it's time to wrap it up and go home. All right. So, Mr. Evan, please let us know where people can find you and your work, sir.
Sure. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. You can find all my work on Instagram and Facebook as well. And as I said, I will be at Izzy's Comics in Northport, Alabama, March 16th, along with Brian Silverbacks.
Nice. And also remember, guys, silence in previews, right?
Yes.
So take that little number that's in there. You go to your retailer and say, order this damn book. Because that's important. Because it is. Because, as independent creators, you got Marvel and DC running roughshod doing all this stuff, right? And the only way any indie guys gets any type of love is if you go directly to your LCS, you tell them, look, order this book for me. Because they're not going to order. Very rarely do they order shelf copies. Very rarely. You got to go in there and be like, hey, I want this. And maybe they'll order your copy and one extra copy for the shelf. So then that way, once they see interest, you might get more. So yeah, man, it's not even think of backing it. Order it. Get that book. It's going to cost you a few bucks. I mean, shit, it's a lot cheaper than ordering a campaign. It's like, so I know. So it's that damn book. So George, please, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Yes, you can find me at the_adventures_of_WD. There's a link tree on that page. It's for the Adventures of Wonder Duck book that I have out. That's out right now. Part 1, Part 2, or Chapter 5, I should say, is going to be on Kickstarter in May. So there's a pre-launch campaign going on for that. But go to that at the Adventures of Wonder Duck, and you'll be able to find all of that information. Also, I have a podcast that I do with my co-host Sam Vera called Catch the Craze, Duck Craze, DA, and we interview independent artists like yourselves, have discussions like this, cautionary tales of all the shit that I did wrong is also talked about on that show. So you guys want to check that out, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000. We're a little more over halfway there. So that's where you can find me.
Nice. Brian?
You can find me at brianrodman.com. At the top of the homepage, it's got all my social media stuff, so you can stalk me appropriately. And other than that, I got a Patreon page, patreon.com/Brian Rodman. We will have another entry tomorrow, The Princess Warriors. And other than that, you can find me on YouTube with the Dastardly Dingoes podcast. We'll have a new episode this Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about tips, tools, and techniques of creating comics. And then on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Rising Tide Broadcast Network on Brian K. Morris's YouTube channel, I will be on Comic Book Spectrum with some amazing creators talking about this week's new reads and comics in general. So yeah.
Nice. Randy, where can people find you, sir?
I am nowhere. No.
I am the shadow.
I am the shadow.
Nowhere and everywhere.
Anyway, you'll be able to find me Tuesdays. I've been Shanghai
Recruited?
co-host Dispatches from Outside the Box.
Nice.
That'll be on the Raging 2 channel, along with C. Michael and Stone Abdullah. Looking forward to that a lot. We had a conversation day or so ago that ended up lasting for hours, but that was me, and you know how talky I get. Other than that, Wednesday nights now I'm going to be doing a podcast called the Zimcast that I'm looking forward to. That's going to be a little of everything, as long as it applies to comics or popular media. We want to talk about it. We want to rant about it. We want your opinions on it. That kind of thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Wednesday nights, starting at 9. The main broadcast starts at 9, but this Wednesday, because it's the first one, I'm going to do a pregame show that'll start at 8:30. And that'll run for a half an hour. We'll get some guests in and talk. The main guest this week on the show will be Max DeVille, talking about his crazy book that I absolutely love. It's got ninjas and who knows what, ninjas and zombies. That's the ultimate.
But
combination.
are they ninjas? Are they ninja zombies?
I am.
Zombie ninjas.
I'm sorry, I can't remember the title, but it is really good. It's right up there with Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles. Anyway, and also Sunday Funnies is back. Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. where we talk about the more lighthearted and fun side of comics. Really looking forward to that. My guest this Sunday is going to be Glenn Fleming, who is just introducing a book and a re-editing of a documentary that he did of his 2 visits over to Jack Kirby's house. And it's a book that I was very happy to supply a forward to and was happy to get to him before I went under on the respirator for 6 weeks and therapy for the 3.5 months. But anyway, it has a forward by me in it, but we'll be talking to Glenn about not just that Kirby book, but his experiences in comics and some of the other wide-ranging books that he has written over the years. And that, believe me, his interests are vast. So it'll be a great conversation. I'm hoping to make it a regular interview. And anybody who's seen the Sunday Funnies in the past know that our conversations tend to meander quite a bit.
I love Sunday.
So we can't promise that we'll stick to a topic, but we'll try. Other than that, I'm working on a couple of other comic things. We are 7-8 days out from the introduction of the Long Shots campaign.
Yep.
And that's a whole nother can of worms, but there's 9 individual comics that are already printed that are the most honestly, and I'm not hyperboling here, the most beautiful books I've ever been associated with. Nice. Just a beautiful print job, 3 staples down the spine. Wow. And beautiful paper. Just some incredible products that we're going to be offering 9 different issues, all number 1s for $25 plus shipping. Damn. And along with a whole bunch of other bells and whistles that Anthony Figueroa, who does God's Hand, and Marcus is coordinating. So I'm very proud to be associated with that. Not at all proud with the circumstances that led up to it, but at this point, we're making do with what we have, and we're trying to pass a lot of that savings onto the reader because we're especially proud of these products, and we hope that you get a chance to get in on that campaign. So
yeah, well, Randy and JD, I think you got plenty of backers and cheerleaders for this campaign coming up, man. I know I'm definitely one of them.
It turned into a genuine mess. The full story of which I don't think has still completely come out with, but it's such a sad thing to see happen because there was so much potential if the circumstances were actually real. And it's just a major disappointment for me that they weren't, and a incredible financial loss. Luckily, my accountant has a lot of the expenditures I'm gonna be able to take as temporary losses until I can generate some capital off of it. So
Gotcha.
We'll see how that goes. Anyway,
definitely looking forward to that campaign, man.
Those podcasts are over at the Raging 2 YouTube channel. They'll be available through Facebook. If you know who I am, you can friend me at Randy Zimmerman over on Facebook. I don't Twitter anymore. I try not to because Twitter is dead.
It's a dumpster fire.
just not a happy place. But I'm still over on Facebook in order to do marketing. You can reach me there, or you can reach me at the email right there that covers the Zimcast. So it's going to be a lot of the broadcast. Going to be a lot of fun. So hope to see you there.
All right, cool.
Now I'll shut up.
Arthur, where can they find you? Your work, sir.
Me?
Yes, sir. That Indie Comics guy.
You, the Indie Comics guy. Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Yes, you can find
that Indie Comics guy.
I didn't mean to put you to sleep.
Oh no!
Oh.
Blame it on the alcohol. You can find me at that Indie Comics Guy YouTube page. We're at over 700 subscribers right now.
Nice.
We're nearing 1,000. So hopefully by the end of the summer we'll be at 1,000. But I talk about comics, pop culture. I give tutorials. I talk about a little bit of everything, and people are entertained. Sometimes I do skits. You never know what you're gonna get. I try to update at least once, sometimes twice a week. That's where you can find me. Lady Freedom by Second Sight Studios, still in previews. You can still order that. Agent Solo issue 5 is coming. Issue 4 was just recently completed, so that'll be on Indiegogo soon. So I've been busy. I've been editing comic books for a lot of people. So those, when I can talk about them, I will talk about them to death. Randy, when y'all launch this campaign, come to the show. I want everyone to support this campaign because what y'all went through never should have happened. But y'all are survivors. Y'all are good people. And I want to help. I'll throw, I got $100. I'll throw $100. I'm saying it here, so if I do not put $100 in this campaign, y'all can come kick my ass. Take my lotion.
That's a lot of kicking right there for $100. It goes a long way.
Again, like I said, I can't wait for people to see the quality of these books. The print job on them was amazing.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal.
JD, we're getting a color book from you, a full color book from you too. I hear that's the rumor.
Oswald Chronicles in color.
Yes, in color.
That's the price of admission right there. For me.
I know, man. I heard that. I was like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mark, where can they find you and your work, sir?
All right. The easiest way is just Google It Came From the Radio. We are a syndicated radio show on 88.1 FM WARY in Westchester County every weekday night, airing multiple times after 10 p.m. We're also on, here we go, CentralOregonRadio.com at Saturdays and Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. BTDRadio.com on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sci-Fi.radio at Wednesdays at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're also on Indy Volt on Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, we have a live show that happens every second Wednesday of the month. Our next live show will be on March the 9th, and we have a special guest. We have Mr. JD Calderon as our guest. So if you want to be part of the live studio audience, go to it's virtual right now because of the pandemic, www.eastmeadow.info. That is sponsored by the East Meadow Public Library of East Meadow, Long Island, New York. So join us there. We have a YouTube page. We have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm usually more on Facebook. And I think that covers it. So yeah, just Google It Came From the Radio.
All right, cool. Listen, you can find me here every Sunday. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all under JD Calderon. But real quick, I want to show everybody for this campaign. These are the books. Sheila.
Nice.
It's Tall Tales.
Oh.
God's Hand. I love that cover.
Yes. Good cover.
It's a great cover.
Revolt.
Yes.
Oh,
There it is.
I love that cover too.
Yeah. That's a solid logo for Arrow.
Robot.
Love that. I that one you got to make a toy, bro.
I know.
Only that
Death
can
can save us.
Good.
Phenomenal.
So good.
Yeah. Hybrids. Luke Stone.
Hybrids. Yep.
Sons of gods.
I love.
Oh,
Hey. Hold on.
Oh, here we go.
Look at how shiny. Look at how shiny.
My
Just
goodness.
beautiful books.
Look
man.
at
Just
that.
nicely done.
There you go. We'll leave it at that. Thank you guys. It was awesome. And till next week. All right. So thank you so much. All you guys are awesome. Love all your books. Order Evan's book. Order Silence. Damn it. Get these books. George, I know, has a campaign coming out. Brian has something coming out. Randy's gonna have something coming out. Mark's. We're all gonna have something coming out. So check out a lot of great books coming out, folks. Thank you so much. I'll be talking to you all soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for being here.
Good night, guys.